Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our third webinar in our series. And on this webinar, we're covering tackling the cold chain challenges, embracing automation to optimize warehouse and distribution to enable scalability and growth. We have our guest panelists, Dani Kaplan and John Cosgrove. We appreciate you taking the time today out of your busy days, especially this day right after Halloween, All Saints Day, to attend today's webinar on building your evolving resilient enterprise. As you may know, this is about our 100th webinar in that order, and we hope that you find all of our webinars interesting. They're all on the EIG website. Moreover, we hope that your family are healthy and safe. Our webinar series, our first webinar focused on the power of ERP software in the modernization and warehouse automation. Our second webinar focused on the last mile. Of course, today we'll be talking about cold chain. And our next webinar will focus on supplying mass merchandisers. Hope you can attend. That'll be in early December. Again, we look forward to you participating in the webinar today. There is the chat, which you're free to enter in at any time. And then there's also a pollev.com/Jim DeVries 073. That's also in the chat. You should see the directions there. We'll repost that shortly. My name is Jim DeVries, founder, president of Enhance International Group. I will be the host of today's webinar. And we also have Tim Kirsch working behind the scenes with us. So thanks, Tim. He's from Independence Marketing Systems and Solutions, and he'll be helping us in the chat room. So please keep it active. Joining today are two supply chain veterans in the warehouse and shop floor space to help you with your ERPs and modernization of advanced handling equipment. First of all, we have Dani Kaplan of SMC Data. Dani, a few words of introduction.
We have supply chain software for various mid-market industries that include manufacturing, distribution, food, and addressing cold storage issue.
Thanks, Dani. And John, a little background of yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Cosgrove. I'm the president and co-founder of Atlantic Handling Systems in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. I've been in the industry for 45 years and have seen a lot of things when it comes to warehouse distribution and storage.
Two true veterans. And a little bit of background on myself. My background for the last 40 years has been in everything from supply chain to operations to sales. So with that, we want to get started with some introductions. First, we have a little bit background on your companies. Or before we get to that, we'll hit the deliverables of the webinar. First, we're going to be addressing cold chain challenges. Then we'll be getting into optimizing facility layout and automation to accommodate cold chain industry. And then we'll get into embracing warehouse high density storage and automation, and then unleashing the power of the unified database and intelligent systems. And then we have a couple case studies for you at the end. So hopefully you'll find this agenda interesting, and you'll interact throughout the webinar. Again, use the poll EV that you'll see in the chat and coming up. With that, some background. John.
Yes, Atlantic Handling Systems. What we essentially do is design, supply, and service all types of material handling equipment. We've been in the industry for our associates for over 40 years. We have a lot of supply chain solutions. We're a division of a company called Mayberry Material Handling, which is the crown fork truck dealer for Western New England and Connecticut, making us one of the largest material handling companies in the Northeast. We also have a design team, in-house project management. We represent many lines, fine lines of material handling equipment. And we have our own installation crews, and we work hand in hand with my friend Dani Kaplan, who has a very affordable warehouse management system.
Dani?
We have supply chain software for multiple industry mid-market. It includes manufacturing, distribution, and food, and it has warehouse automation integrated into it, which in today's reality is very important because some companies buy standalone warehouse, so we create integration issues. It has distribution, door-to-door management, logistic, EDI interface, and the most important thing is also analytic, the Cognos IBM analytic. It has real-time information of the inventory, what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, and whom to buy from, which is a very important factor today. The cheapest vendor is not the best vendor. Late deliveries create production interruption, order cancellation with equal cash excess inventory and equal cash flow issues.
Thanks, Dani. And with that, a little background on Enhance International Group. We're a group of about 50 different partners, and the partners focus on everything from education to consulting to providing SaaS solution like Dani. We are global. We have folks around the world, and EIG acts as like a Swiss Army knife. We provide the best partner for you to match your needs. And today, right now, when we look at strategy and execution, the strategy, of course, is cold storage ecosystem. We're trying to build that for you in today's webinar. And from a strategic perspective, you can see we believe that you need an ecosystem between strategy and execution and the tactics to get you there. And we provide those companies that help you down the road. And we like to say life is like a bicycle. To keep your balance, you need to keep on moving. And so with that, we're going to move back out to the poll here and keep moving here to where you folks are located from. It looks like we have folks from a lot in the Northeast, India, and some sales folks, directors, general managers. Thank you so much for entering into the poll. Please do keep the poll active as we move through. With that, we'll just move on into the webinar. Again, this is the third webinar in our series, and our next webinar will be focused on the mass merchandisers. So hopefully you'll be able to attend that webinar coming up in December. With that, we will get into the webinar and the agenda. So to start the agenda, we're going to have a panel discussion on the cold chain challenges out there. And we'll take a deep dive in the complexities of maintaining temperature-sensitive products in the cold chain industry, discover strategies to ensure the integrity of your products from storage to delivery. Then we'll look at embracing the high-density cold storage. And John will get into details on this. We'll explore how automation is reshaping the landscape of warehousing from robotic picking to automated inventory control. And we'll learn how to boost efficiency and accuracy with the ERP from Dani. And then we'll get into unleashing that unified database from Dani, and how we'll show how a single database can house all of this for your cold chain needs. And then we'll get into the case studies coming up. So in conclusion, we'll leverage intelligent system insights by harnessing the potential of data-driven decision-making, and we'll learn how intelligent systems and analytics can transform your warehouse and distribution strategies. So with that, we'll get into the first area, cold chain strategies. And again, we'll look for your challenges that you're encountering today. We have a few here. Expiration dates is always a main area. Of course, keeping inventory control, making sure that you're keeping things current. Of course, erratic demand is another issue that is common in the warehousing. But we'll get into this and more as we go through. Please do join the pollev.com, Jim DeVries / Jim DeVries 073 to enter into the poll. So this will be full when we get at the end of this section. So some background. This market size is quite large, $120 billion, or even greater today. And it has a very high CAGR, compounded annual growth rate, of in the order of 18% previous to 2023. And they predict in the next coming years of at least 14% or higher. And this is driven by multiple different industries. It's, of course, the food industry, which is made up of your meats and poultries, as well as your vegetables, fruits and vegetables. And then, of course, medicine now is becoming a much bigger player in this industry with the vaccines. We all know about the cold chain with COVID. The farm to table, just quick overview on the supply chain. Of course, you have you're making your farm to table process here. You're going through your packing houses. You could go into one or two routes, either a pre-cooling center or just cold storage, long-term cold storage, and then refrigerated reefer trucks to get you to your sales outlet, or in the case of a medical situation, you'll be getting straight to your hospitals and so forth. So this is just a high level supply chain end to end, just so we are on the same page when we say cold chain. With that, there are ask the panelists to join me here by addressing the top 6 trends that we see out there. Ask John, maybe make a comment on these top 3, and then Dani will also ask the same. So, yeah, John, anything stick out for you here?
Yeah, Jim, as you see in this picture, you see some robots, and what's happening in those are robotic palletizers. So what we have is when the products are coming out of the cold storage or in, we can palletize them with robots, of course, which really helps out as far as productivity and getting items, to the shipping dock faster, because we know that they have to be refrigerated. So one of the biggest things with this is we have to be able to store all this material and all these raw materials and finished product, but get it fast or quickly to the refrigerated transport.
Absolutely. And Dani, your thoughts?
One of the issues faced today is the change in reality, where before the product went into warehouse or the supply chain distribution warehouse, today it goes directly to the end consumer. So it's a very important factor that you have quick delivery and accurate from a cold storage to the customer, and have it coming cold so it doesn't spoil.
Absolutely.
And one other thing, Jim.
Sure.
We talk about the work conditions and safety. A lot of cold storage products are heavy. And, so you use large equipment, fork trucks and electric pallet jacks and things like that. So what we need to do is make sure that we keep all of the employees safe by building the correct storage systems and having the right flow to get out to shipping.
Yeah, to your point, John, when you look at the docks and you go to the Chicago old docks, right? Or even in New York City, the butcher docks, those were all the tough guys, because they had to, they're going in and out of cold and hot constantly. It's a tough environment. Even the slaughterhouses out in the plain states, and it's a tough environment that you need to acclimatize to, and make sure that safety is up there as number one. With that, we're going to go through some of the challenges here. So, John, you want to kick us off here?
Yeah. For those who have coolers or freezers, you know that there's a lot of damage that occurs because of the weight of the product. Most pallets weigh at least 2,500 pounds to 3,000 pounds that are being stored in cold storage. So between the pallet itself and the size and the weight of the equipment we need to move this product around, we incur a lot of damage in freezers and in coolers to the racking. we have a way that we can repair damaged rack without using a welder. It can be nut and bolted, and we can cut it out, and we can just jack the rack up. We can actually leave the pallets in the rack with the exception of the two on the bottom, and we can jack the rack up, cut out the bad part, and insert this kit that has, there's two types. One has a 10-year guarantee and the other has a lifetime guarantee.
Wow.
So, and they're both made of structural steel, which is what's preferably used in freezers. But a lot of times, because of the cost, people will buy what they call roll form steel, and it will, and it's a lot more susceptible to damage than the structural is.
That's
And
great.
I'll turn it over to you, Jim, to talk about condensation.
Yeah, so going back to the 1970s, my dad actually came up with a way to address actually the second, third, and fourth areas. He has a couple patents out there. He worked with some of the large meat packers out in the Plain States. And for condensation, the concept is every freezer will have condensation in the packing around it. So you end up losing your effectiveness of the freezer over time, and you have to throw out all the insulation and kind of rebuild the entire freezer. And the way he eliminated that issue is creating a positive pressure within the freezer. So the pressure inside the freezer is higher than outside the freezer, and so that all the air is always flowing out, and none of those microbes and contamination can get in. The other thing he did is he actually invented the curtains that we see hanging in all freezers around the world now. He actually invented those curtains. So he was highly involved in this, and he also came up with some sprays. So there are solutions to a lot of these plaguing issues that I think are still out there. So, be open to new ideas, I would just say. Dani?
One of the issues called storage is picking up the inventory, and to hold the RF gun with a glove is very clumsy. So the different solution is they have a headset with a voice pick that directs you to what shelf to pick and how much to pick and what quantity.
Thanks, Dani. So we have a few more teaser slides here. The next slide is about challenges and solutions. And some of the challenges you see on the left side, solutions on the right side. Dani, you want to lead us on this slide?
One of the issues with food expiration is the lot number and expiration date. So you have to have a very good tracking method to track what's the expiration date of a product. So you want to sell the one that expires soon first, and keep the later expiration date. And the next issue is cash management. In Hunts Point, which is the largest food center in the Northeast, people come in the morning and buy product cash. Cash is very quick. It's like water between the racks. The VI software has a standalone retail module, but you can open a store right at the front dock with a buy the merchandise. You scan the product, it affects the register, and they have to put the right amount of cash in the register. The next issue is door-to-door delivery. The truck, it gives the truck, when the trucks leave first it tells the software, warehouse software, that tell you how much will fit on each truck. You put the first delivery in the front, the less in the back, and when the trucks leave the warehouse, become a waste, telling the best way to go about it. And the last and least about managing the cold storage with a headset. You use what the set I have, multiple language, how much to buy, and whom to and where in the warehouse it is.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey, Jim,
your thoughts?
just to speak on food expiration and the rotation. One of our key goals in a cold storage situation is to have high density storage, because it's so expensive to build and maintain. So we're going to talk a little bit later about a few ways we can do that with different style storage systems and automation. So
looking forward to that, John. All right. So maybe we have a bunch of other challenges and solutions here. Maybe Dani, pick one or two of these solutions. We will provide the slides for everyone going forward. Dani?
Order integrity. You need a single warehouse platform to have the ERP interface into the warehouse. If you have two separate software, if you have a standalone warehouse software, you have integration issue, broken linked, and it creates inaccurate inventory. Second thing is you need to know what to ship, whom to ship, and how much to ship. It's very accurate because product storage, cold storage product can spoil very quickly. You need to focus on the eliminate inaccurate orders. That's very important in the pharmaceutical industry that have a lot of spam and stealing. Warehouse space, that's a big issue now with high density storage. You need a racking and conveyor, which is with John's expertise. And the smartphone replaces the RF gun for $3,000, and especially with today's labor shortage, it require no training, and you can increase your input or your output by speaking by 50%, because there is very little training on a smartphone. Everybody using a smartphone versus RF gun required training and sometimes it breaks.
Thanks, Dani. John, your thoughts?
yes, when we talk about the challenges and the solutions, it's a combination of what Dani spoke about. You have to have the ERP and the WMS that are married to each other, and then they provide the intelligence to the system, the high density storage we have. Because if we don't manage that high density storage correctly, what will happen is we're going to end up having problems picking orders. So many times I go into places and you walk into a cooler or a freezer and you see pallets all in the aisles, and the pickers cannot maneuver through, and they have to constantly keep moving pallets, which affects the productivity. So really the challenge of this is to be able to pick the orders efficiently and store them in a manner that you can get as much product as you possibly can in the freezer and still be productive.
Thanks, John. We got a question in here for Dani on how expired goods are managed.
Expired good, it's a main issue now. The FDA is very sticky about expired goods. So you really have to keep track of the lot number and the expiration date. Because if you sell product that's contaminated, the FDA will make you stop shipping and have you go through the entire warehouse, making sure you don't have expired items in it.
Thanks, Dani.
So Jim, just to add to that, when we had worker shortage on that list, one of the things that's happening is in Europe, they've been facing this for many years. And a lot of the European technology is coming here as far as automation when it comes to dealing with this type of product. And what happens in freezers, there is a product now called a shuttle. And you can now go several pallets deep, and this shuttle will go and retrieve that pallet and bring it forward, as opposed to, we're going to talk a little bit about some drive-in and some other types of solutions. But as far as automation goes and worker shortage, that will help to alleviate that, because as we all know, everyone's having problems trying to find workers to come in and work these type jobs.
So a question just came in on the tagging pallets, because it's in a frozen environment. What kind of tags are you using to track your pallets and lots in a frozen environment? How is that being addressed?
That's for Dani. Danny
Yeah.
frozen.
Hello, Danny, are you there?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
The question that came in is for the tagging of the pallets themselves. How are you making sure that those tags are still working in a frozen environment versus, a normal environment, because they're more prone to damage
You
because of the
have
temperature.
by scanning the barcode label on the pallet, you have on it expiration date. So it tells you if when it's going to expire, and you ship out the one that is going to expire
Yeah.
sooner than later.
Sorry, Danny, that's not the question. The question is centered around the label itself, and being able to scan a label in a frozen environment. The integrity of the label itself, not a question about an expiration date.
It has a film on it that the cold storage is not affected. So when you scan it, you can see make sure it's accurate.
Okay. John, do you have any helpful hints in this area?
No, I don't deal with that part of it, but I know that I know that a lot of people scan the pallets before they put them in, and then they go in, and I've heard of certain type, but I don't know what the material is made of labels that can be printed for cold storage, but I'm not aware of what.
Well, there's one technology called real time RTLS, where you're not scanning, it's proximity, and it's sending a signal to your,
like RFID,
like an RFID, yeah, but a little bit different than that, but something
Okay.
like an RFID. So there are RFID technologies that are pennies on a dollar that are read-only RFIDs. They're not emitting RFIDs that work quite well also. So there's a myriad of technology that I'm aware of. So that's why I threw it out there. And all right, so with that, we're going to hit the next section on embracing high density cold storage. And with that, I think we're going to turn it over to John here. As soon as but before we get into that, what are some of the challenges that are out here? These are the challenges that we're seeing out there. Spoilage, of course, lot control we've covered, overflow, picking accuracy, but we'll address this. And anything else that comes up in your mind that we can add to this list before we get into your section, John, here?
I think one of the biggest things is that in like an area where you have washdown, a lot of the racking rust out. So we need to galvanize the rack often so that the rack will last longer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very important part of this, and
sure.
Especially in fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure cleanliness is a challenge in those areas too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, whoops. Sorry about that. There you go, John. It's all yours.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit here about some challenges as far as the high density. One of the products that was very, very highly used for many years is drive-in racking, where you see there are rails that go deep. You can go pretty deep, and you get high density storage because you don't have to have aisles. One of the problems with drive-in is, if you look at the picture on the left, the front upright is called a slant leg. And what that does, when you have a normal upright, a lot of times that gets damaged. So what we can do is put in this slant leg, so when the fork truck makes that turn to get in there, it doesn't hit the front upright, which saves on a lot of damage. The problem with drive-in racking is it's first in, last out. So if you're going 4 pallets high by 4 pallets deep, in order to get to that last pallet, you have to remove 15 pallets. So what you really want to do when you're going deep with drive-in in a cold storage application is you want to make sure that you have a lot of the same SKU in there. Now, they also make to the right a racking called drive-through rack. And that means you can start at one end and drive entirely through and continue to do that. But it still is, it's not really good for selectivity, but it's good when you have raw materials, like a lot of the same SKUs, but you do have to use Dani's system of the WMS to make sure that you can rotate things out occasionally. But it does give you that high density storage you need in a freezer or cold storage application.
Yeah, so the biggest challenge is high density with lot control, expiration dates, the balance of that, and finding the racking to fit your needs. Is that right?
Right, exactly. And you know, one of the problems, and if you look down the aisle on the picture on the left, you see a pallet in the aisle. And a lot of times what happens in cold storage is people begin to store pallets in the aisles.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kills your productivity. But
Yeah.
if you do have a WMS, you can switch and put things in different places. Now we're going to talk a little bit more in the next segment about some of the improvements that have been made in high density storage. So here is a high density storage pushback racking. If you look at the picture on the left, you'll see three orange carts lined up. And what they do is you put that on a cart and you can push it back. So what it gives you is selectivity from that one bay. All the pallets, when you take one out, will slide forward. So it's a lot easier and it creates less damage because you're driving the fork truck into the racking and it takes a longer time and it can create more damage. Where here you're sitting outside the rack and the pallets flow to you. So pushback has become very, very popular with the cold storage in freezers and refrigerated boxes.
Nice. Dani?
That's a good example of using a voice pick for the cold storage. As you can see, they wear gloves, and to hold the gun in the cold storage is very clumsy and difficult to scan the barcode. So the voice pick in multiple language tells you what location to go to, what to pick, what item to pick, and how much to pick. It's very, very efficient, and company achieve 99% accuracy about it. A second issue is the produce industry. Produce have no barcode label. So it tells you pick up 500 tomatoes, 600 cucumbers, 300 cauliflowers, and you can move it in and out quickly because produce is very perishable. So it comes in, goes out the same day.
Nice.
That's the new technology of a smartphone. A lot of companies that come from legacy software are used to pick up the inventory by paper. Ethical product came from a 30, 40 years of legacy software, and when they saw the RF gun, they said, what the hell is that? So we gave them a smartphone that cost $400 with RFID attached to it. Inventory accuracy is 99% accuracy, and they're able to ship on the same day. And with the labor shortage today, when people come and quit, instead of having a long training session with a gun for $3,000, with a smartphone and $400, there is no training. Everybody's using a smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Dani?
This is an example of a cold storage. We have a company called Seco. They sell fish, lobster, and shrimp. And with the fish industry or the seafood industry, it's a very important factor. And you face food safety regulation, FDA, and all those issues. So the software allows you to use also a third-party warehouse. Straight integrate, then the software knows what is there, and as they ship it out, we get via EDI information, and you can build a customer. And it has complete rack tracking and a route manager, It tells you when to buy, what to pick up, and how to ship it out.
Hey, Jim, if you could just go
Yeah.
back to the last slide.
Sure.
Just to talk about the picture there. What you see is it's coming out of probably a prep facility. And what you have is a turntable, because the pallet, when it comes out, it's the wrong way. So what it does is it turns it, and then here's the automation where it comes in. That takes that pallet down to where they then distribute it, put it on a truck.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Great ad. Dani, talk about
This is the advantage of a single database software. It fits the fish industry, like shrimp, lobster, and food, or the meat industry. So in the case of the fish industry, it's a distributor and manufacturer, or it can be a straight manufacturer. Until you take the big piece of meat, slice it to steaks, what size, and keep track, and then ship it to the customer. It has also material requirement planning to tell you how much you have in stock and when you're going to run out of it. And it's a full manufacturing. So you can track it from the customer to the vendor and ship it out with the mobile application that the same smartphone that we use in the warehouse can be used for the shipping. And the route management tells you how much you fit on each truck. First shipment is in the front, last shipment in the back. And when the truck leaves the warehouse, it's become a Waze, telling for the best route. And it's a full warehouse management integrated into the software.
Thanks, Dani. And with that, we're going to take a step back just a little bit and just talk about, some of the best practices out there with John and Dani, get their feedback on what they're seeing out there. Of course, I think John mentioned the safety first. We can never dismiss that. We talked a little bit about FIFO, first in, first out, aligned to expiration dates. Lead times is a new concept. Obviously lead times and shortening the time between production of your poultry or medicine, no matter what it is. How do we get those lead times shortened for the raw materials coming in and bringing it up to market? So, John, Dani, your thoughts on any of these that you would like to close out on?
Yeah, expiration and FIFO, very, very, very important. And one of the problems when you look at, we want to get high density because the cost of the real estate of the freezer or cold storage is high. So what we try to do is we try to use high density. Sometimes, there's different ways to go. The best way to go, of course, is selective rack, but that ends up being where it takes up a lot of aisle space and so on and so forth. But every pallet is accessible then. So one of the ways we work to do that is we change the type fork truck you're using. Instead of using a sit-down truck that might require 10 or 12-foot aisles, we can go to a bendy truck that can get down to a 7-foot aisle, or we can go to a narrow aisle truck that can even get you down further. What you really need with a narrow aisle truck, of course, to get the return on investment is height, because you need to have a lot of height so you can get a return on investment. But we go from selective rack to double reach. We use a double reach truck, which I'm going to show you in the case study that we have later. Or you can actually, if you want to get really, really into automation, you can go to this shuttle or use pushback rack. And also another way we can do it is we use these modular vertical lifts, they're called, where they go up and they get a tray and they extract it. But in a footprint of only 10 foot wide, we can go up to 52 foot high with one of those, and we can go 13 foot wide. But that's for specific items, just single items. Can't use it for pallets.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Dani, I know you have a few things you want to share.
FDA is a huge issue that you have to be aware of. So you have to keep track of the product by lot number control and location. Because if you have contaminated product, the FDA will make you close your operation and check every single product in the warehouse. So keeping track of the lot number and expiration date is very important issue now.
Thanks, Dani. With that, go to John here.
Okay, well, one of the problems with cold storage oftentimes is once you get it out of the freezer or box, we have to get it packaged, we have to get it palletized, whatever it takes to get it live loaded into the truck. So what we do when we do cases is oftentimes we can put in a sortation system like you see right here. This is called a narrow belt sorter. And what it does is it can sort between 60 and 120 boxes per minute based on the size of the box. And it speeds up the time between the cooler and the distribution into the truck. And you can live load it into the truck. You can have someone load it by hand or palletize it and then put it in. So it comes at 30-degree diverts and 90-degree diverts. But what it does is it allows for us to speed up the process. So it can do 60 to 120 boxes per minute.
Well, that's moving.
Yeah,
that's moving. Great insights there. So with that, we have this slide. John, you want to kick us off on the summary slide?
Yeah, high density storage is the thing that we're looking for the most in freezers or cold storage applications because of the cost. And we just gave you today some of the ways to do it. The best thing to do is have a great layout, because if you can have a cold storage application where you just cram everything in, but you can't get it out in a productive manner, and that productivity just kills your return on investment. So we need to do that. I know Dani will talk a little bit about order integrity, and that's where all of these things come together. The system integration between the ERP, the WMS, and the warehouse system is what's key to giving you profitability.
Dani?
One of the things that's most important thing is having the warehouse interface into the ERP system. Many people buy a standalone warehouse software, and then they end up with integration issues. One car engine and a second car transmission. The VIS software has part of it integrated real-time warehouse management that gives you ability to use either a RF gun or a smartphone implementation, very short implementation, and has accuracy of 99% accuracy, pick and ship.
Thanks, Dani. And just to close out, for your future business operations, as John and Dani both said, that integration between their systems is what will really give you your bang for your buck, to drive that aligned productivity and that real-time visibility and execution of believable data so that you can make informed decisions to accelerate your performance. And we want to fast track you to this tailored implementation aligned to your business capabilities and priorities. And I think John and Dani have the two pieces here that can really transform your warehouse. With that, we're going to go back to the survey question. What are your cold storage challenges? Hopefully we address them. Please do enter in the chat anything else that comes to your mind throughout the webinar, and we'll address them as they come up. With that, we're going to move on to unleashing the power of a unified database. And Dani, this is a poll from IoT Analytics, a well-known company out there that identified the top reasons why companies switch software vendors. Dani?
One of the main issues people face is lack of support. They buy software like Navision or SAP, feeling it's a large company and they cannot go wrong with it. Like the olden days, you can't go wrong with IBM. The reality is that they like the large Toyota or BMW, and they forget to support the smaller client. The other next issue is complexity. Some of the software are so complex that compared to giving a teenager a Ferrari, it goes 200 miles an hour on a highway, it's a tragedy. The user have a tough time getting adjusted to the software. The third issue is upgrade. A lot of companies buy other software houses by other companies, and they don't upgrade the software. VAI has spent $1 million a year R&D every year, and every 18 months there is a new release. This is a flow chart, a full analytic software of the VAI. Supply chain portal, which is a smartphone, warehouse, full warehouse integration, accounting, CRM, capacity integration to multiple vendors, which is very, very important, like trucking industry. Purchasing, where to buy, when to buy and how much. Sales forecasting, what do you have in stock, what item are moving, who to buy from, and remote location. That's a huge important issue, because if you don't have a good track of the multiple warehouses, one is overstocked, another one understocked. VI has one client called Sid Harvey with 100 locations nationwide, real-time information, what in each location inventory is, and what each location buys. Florida in the winter buys heaters, while noticed by Florida buys air conditioning, while noticed by heater in the winters. Just a detailed picture of the whole flow chart. Analytic using the IBM Cognos, real-time information, dashboard, and you can, on the fly, you can create information. Mobile, smartphone, order entry, delivery, warehouse automation, warehouse pickup and management, full accounting package, sales, warehouse, integrated warehouse software, e-commerce, very important part of the whole package, and CRM, which is all in all those modules are integrated into one hub in real-time mode on a single database software. This is the business operation, single database, eliminate integration issues, and streamline the workflow. You have ability to see real time and make the actual decision who to buy, when to buy, and what you have in inventory, and what products are moving. And the third and the most important thing is the warehouse automation, integrated software, what the inventory level, how to pick it up, and who to buy from, and how much to buy.
Thanks, Dani. And with that, we'll move on to the case studies, kicking off with John's case study with his client, Jimmy's Cookies. I wish they were my cookies, but I guess there's another Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy's Cookies is one of the largest cookie bakeries in all of the Northeast. He mass produces cookies for many places like ShopRite, Stop and Shop, all different places, and he bakes them all in Clifton, New Jersey, but he has now 4 facilities throughout New Jersey, and we've been working with them for several years, and we've had a good relationship. They have thousands of customers, and what happened was originally they had a location in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and they asked us to come help them move to their new facility. So our challenge there was, of course, limited space. The new facility was designed for a storage system for cold storage, so we provided high density. And what we did was we took a look at the versatility we needed for some of the items to be picked from the raw materials. So what we did was we used a combination of drive-in rack, and we used double reach. So we had a reach truck and we had a sit-down fork truck. And what we do is selectivity on the double reach is good because each pallet is only one pallet away, and the drive-in is 5 deep for all the raw material. As we said before, most of the pallets are heavy, 2,500 pounds or heavier. So we've designed the racking with structural racking so that it can take the abuse. But we've done that really helps is they use their WMS, and it helps them to locate and keep the pallets in the correct place and keep them out of the aisles. So we store more raw materials in cold storage area, and it's easier selection of pallets. And you see here on the left is the drive-in rack that's very deep, and on the right you see the double reach racking that we installed for them in the freezer.
Thanks, John. And Dani, you have a couple case studies, starting off with Morton.
This is the largest food distributor in Hunts Point. They had multiple issues of people buying groceries for cash. So we give them a retail module that's enabled to buy, route management, how many products will fit on each truck, and then when they deliver to the customer, proof of delivery, because very often they say, I didn't get it. So when the driver delivers the product, they scan it like a UPS or FedEx, update the host in real-time mode, and the customer sign for it, so there's proof signature. And the mobile end order entry is a smartphone that enabled either the warehouse or the truck who delivered the information capture the data. Those are testimonials about some of the people who work there. General manager, as you can see, quite a big impact of the software. Delivery was important issue. Second one, they described the difference last year and this year. And the less important, the smartphone, which gives them mobile ability and analytics software, enable them to do everything they need in real-time mode.
Great story, Dani. Thanks for sharing.
This is a case study I met the COO about 10 years ago, and his biggest issue told me people come to the warehouse on weekend buy shrimp, lobster, and fish cash. And I asked him, how do you keep track on the cash? He said, my CFO biggest problem. Then we have a retail warehouse management, that warehouse software that keeps track on the cash. Today they have 25,000 square foot supermarket next to a warehouse that keeps track on the cash. They're a manufacturer and distributor, largest seafood in Canada. So they can take the big fish and cut it to steaks or ship the whole fish. Has retail and everything. Those are some success stories there. As you can see, warehouse improvement 150%. The labor issue using a smartphone down by 35% versus expensive gun. And the truck routing. How much you fit on each truck. First stop is on the front, left of the back, and reduce order picking by 40% with a smartphone, which require very little training. And that's a testimonial which I spoke to him 10 years ago, and that's today's testimonial.
Fantastic story. Thanks, Dani. Really great testimonials for both these, both for Dani and John. You can see that how indebted the customers are to both of these solutions, and how they integrate well to solve these systemic issues for these companies to help them scale and grow, which is what it's all about. Which brings us to this last slide here of the webinar, really, and that is, it all comes down to dollars and cents and the financial impacts. So I ask each John and Dani, maybe John first, to focus on a couple of these on the impact that he's been able to make in the cold chain industry.
I think the biggest thing we've talked about, high density is space utilization, and we get to increase that in most cases by 20 to 50%, which then increases our productivity and higher throughput. So what we really need to do is find the balance between high density storage, picking accuracy, and the throughput. And if we can achieve that, you're going to get a much larger ROI than, I know many people, many times when I go into food cold storage applications, you see people running around in the freezer on motorized pallet jacks, or walking. You have people walking within, looking for boxes, trying to climb up on racks. So when you take the combination of an efficient design in your cold storage system and the WMS that Dani provides, it gives you the efficiency that you need to increase your productivity and help your bottom line.
Turns the data into dollars.
Right.
Absolutely. Dani, on the ERP side, you want to
One
choose
of the
one of these?
things, one of the benefits you have of integrated warehouse software and ERP, you don't have the broken link that creates inaccurate data. Inventory control, by having no integration issues, as you can see, 70% improvement. You can track the material because you don't have the broken link that you don't know how much inventory you have. And the low cost, having reliable RF device, or the smartphone, and integration, that's the most important issue. I brought in a client last year, which is about quite large client, has a standalone warehouse and standalone ERP. They found that discrepancies. They thought they have 200 pieces in inventory. They find 30 or 300. And multiple location, you have to know what across the country, multiple location. And having an integrated ERP with the software, with WMS, you know what each location is. The regular ROI is 1 year or less.
Thanks, Dani, and thanks, John. And I know we've been talking all about the food and food industry in general, but there's also the pharma industry with all the medical. And I know that VAI has a module for pharma. So you really combine these couple things. It's really three major industries that can be addressed with the racking and the ERPs. And that industry is going to only grow over the next 20, 30 years. It's not going to get smaller. And really VAI and SMC Data and John's company, Atlantic Handling Systems, really provides that complete solution for you and your needs in these environments. So I really thank both Dani and John to enlighten us in this industry. And with that, we'll close it out here. Hopefully we addressed all the deliverables here to your satisfaction. We look forward to your questions and follow up. Please do follow up with Dani and John or myself for any questions that you have about this webinar, what you learned here, and follow up. We're here to help you solve your problems. And just a reminder that we'll be having an upcoming webinar on supplying mass merchandisers the capability of being a distributor and retail ability, which is really the changing of the guard, so to speak. We're going through a big transformation here. So we'll be addressing that particular challenge in that environment in our upcoming webinar in December. Again, we thank everyone for joining us today. We're right at the top of the hour, within a minute. So with that, I'll ask for closing comments. First, John, your closing comments.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you, Jim, for doing a great job of moderating today. And of course, thank Dani for his input and insight in this. And just let everyone know that, you can reach us. We'd be glad to come out and take a look at your facility and do some kind of design at no cost to you. And we would hope that we can help you to increase your productivity and give you a great return on investment.
Dani, your closing thoughts?
I want to thank you for attending this webinar. I hope you find it informative. John and me work as a very close team, and the team and John and me we are friends, and we work together, and we can help you with any questions you have.
Thanks, Dani. And as my closing comments, again, I want to thank John and Dani and Tim for supporting us on this webinar and putting it together. A lot of work was involved. Thank you for your patience and time. And for you, the audience, thank you so much for joining us today. And we know that in today's world, it's more volatile than ever. So understanding where things are at in your facilities, having accurate inventory in this volatile world is very important. And then being able to optimize your space as prices keep going up and real estate going up, we need to be able to drive that high density storage. Again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we look forward to you joining our next webinar, but most of all, please reach out in the meantime. Thank you.